Hello, and welcome to the Lost and Found Book Review. Today, we will be reviewing The First Emancipator by Andrew Levy. This is the story of a wealthy, pious Virginian aristocrat named Robert Carter III, and his crowning accomplishment, the deed of gift which freed 426 slaves. The single largest emancipation proclamation until Lincoln's in 1863. Levy takes up two main questions. In Levy's own words, why did Robert Carter III free his slaves, and why couldn't we care less? Because of the historical absence of Robert Carter, this book is largely a short biography sprinkled with commentary. From old-moneyed Virginian to religious emancipator, Levy takes up each crucial turning point and asks, is this where the deed of gift originated? The American Revolutionary War, conversion to baptism, or his eccentric personality? The answer, unsurprisingly, is all of them, but at each turning point, Carter moves closer and closer to the deed of gift. Levy writes beautifully, which is not common among historians. I often feel when reading pop historians that I am reading the same writer over and over again, which is not something that Levy does. He knows how to sit narrative within his personal concerns without letting one intrude on the other. We learn of Carter's aristocratic aloofness paired with his religious mysticism, and his communion with his slaves paired with his patriarchal disposition, all while Levy gives poignancy to those two questions as Carter's life develops in the same setting as the rest of the Founding Fathers, but with a different result. Levy makes this comparison between the Declaration of Independence and the Deed of Gift. If Carter is the anti-Jefferson, the man who did not lack the will to free his own slaves, but who did lack the vision and clarity to make his love of freedom eloquent, then the Deed of Gift is the anti-Declaration of Independence, a document that makes liberty look dull, but which is so absent of loopholes and contradictions that no result but liberty could prevail. Carter's Deed of Gift reads like a ship manifest, documenting when and with what provisions slaves will be free. It is not quotable. It is not life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Levy presents Thomas Jefferson as Robert Carter's foil throughout the book. Levy tries to include Washington, Patrick Henry, and all the rest, but Thomas Jefferson is the one who best embodies the paradox of America. The religious emancipator Carter versus the secular hypocrite Jefferson. For how can we say that Jefferson could not free his slaves when Carter, his contemporary, did so in fact? Unfortunately, the book conflates two important questions. What did liberal slaveholders do with their slaves, and what did America do with its slaves? The Deed of Gift was not a document for emulation. Carter did not proselytize it, he did not advertise it. He made his distaste of slavery a matter of the court and his journals, not in speeches in the House of Burgesses or in political documents. Carter chose to personally reconcile his opposition to slavery by ceasing to be a slaveholder, kind of. The Deed of the Gift was not fully in effect until well after he passed away. Furthermore, it is only when Jefferson's attempt at reforming the institution of slavery fails that the Deed of Gift becomes an imperative for Carter. Most unfortunately, Levy attempts to provide Robert Carter as an alternative road not traveled for the American Republic. But we tip our hand when we continue to ignore Robert Carter, whose example is enough to remind us that there existed men and women during the Revolutionary War who knew what was right and who did not lack the personal will to act upon that belief. The more one reads in the 21st century about someone such as Robert Carter, the more one feels a sense of fury and frustration that there were already men and women in Virginia in the 1780s prepared to surrender money and power to bring a dull end to the institution of slavery, and the whole thing, the Civil War, Jim Crow, the Ku Klux Klan, 200 years of a relentless bitterness and division, could have whimpered and died in the Potomac tidewater. It is infuriating in the early 21st century to consider this alternate history, in which Robert Carter is the founding father of the only American Revolution we truly lost. The first obvious hole in this is that Levy's concerns in this book are almost strictly Virginian. I mean, what about the rest of the South? I mean, to state that all of the future struggle of the 19th and 20th century would have been abated if every planter in Virginia was the moral equivalent of Robert Carter is asinine. It would be the equivalent of me saying, if everybody was like Jesus, then we would have heaven on earth. It's not a particularly serious point of view. But in Levy's defense, Carter's actions do speak to our sense of personal compassion. He sacrifices his worldly possessions to give freedom to those who do not have it. Contra Levy, Carter also abdicates his responsibility to all of the slaves that are not Robert Carter's. What task will Robert Carter leave for the next generation? None, because that wasn't his concern. Carter literally wished for a quiet life in obscurity, and his wish was granted. Levy even acknowledges that as the revolutionary fervor abated, in 18th century Virginia, having anti-slavery positions was the equivalent of civic death. Jefferson, on the other hand, from the first Women's Rights Convention in 1848 to the abolitionists, to Ho Chi Minh, to the Black Panther Party, have all used his words as a reminder of the American promise yet fulfilled. But that's the rub. Do we leave morally comfortable, obscure legacies, or world historic and therefore critical ones? Jefferson's lack of recognition of Haiti during its revolution and his abdication of the slave question later in life are just two places you can drive your dagger in him if you so wish. Although I'm sure if we were in his situation, we would have performed so much better. Our moral content, which is not at all a product of our environment, would prove decisive. If only an army of 21st century academics could have been slaveholders, they would all be Robert Carter. And kablam! No Civil War, no Civil Rights Movement, freedom for all in one bureaucratic swoop. Yet, brothers, sisters, comrades, the hour is not yet too late. We can still prove our superiority over Jefferson and Carter. Can we answer the riddle they could not? Can we emancipate humankind? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.